Welcome. Welcome to Tomar Castle. This castle is the most important castle, in Portugal. It was built also by Claudian V, the same that has built Almourol and Caesar and Cardiga and many others, even outside from this region. This castle is not perhaps the biggest Templar castle in Portugal, but has something different also, because Templar castles generally they are kind of replica, inverse replica of the constellation. Okay, this is also a replica, inverse replica of the constellation of the I don't remember the name in English. In French it's le Bouvier. In Portuguese, boieiro. Boots, it's Latin. Okay, boots. And this castle has exactly the same form that the constellation, and more important, the star Arcturus of this constellation is exactly on the main church, on the round church that represents something from Jerusalem. Okay, and this is a little difficult to explain this. You'll find this more in detail in the catalogue of our exhibition that we opened yesterday. Okay, but this is very nice because these Arcturus and this group, this Bouvier or Boieiro, as you call it, has something to do with the boar also. Okay, the boar, and you remember that St. John the Baptist we have in the exhibition has a skin of a pig. A boar it's a pig. Okay. So this is all connected, but it's connected in a very deep way, because there are other information that we can bring to this. It was on purpose, okay, and more. This radius of this circumference as a number. It's not a number as we now use. It is not a decimal system. It's the old system that would measure things with using the size of the human body. Okay, this is a cubit, covered. This is vara, double cubit, and so on. This, and this, 5 pounds. Okay? Only full numbers. So this number of the radius represents the power of God in Hebrew Kabbalah. Even in Christian Kabbalah, it's the same, because there's a Christian Kabbalah. Perhaps you don't know, you are used to hear about Jewish Kabbalah, but also Christian Kabbalah. Okay? And this means that the Holy Vice, the Grand Master, had some ideas about the place. Okay? But it is not so, because the circumference is the round form, it's the perfect form. Okay, and represents heavens, as the square represents the earth. Okay, as 2 squares rounded, 45 degrees, represent the middle earth. Middle earth. You have heard about this? Middle earth. Okay. So ourselves. Okay, our world. And he did more, because he tried to design a place that was a replica, exact replica of Jerusalem. This is the only Templar town that exists all over the world now, and this is a replica of Jerusalem. Everything is on its place. If you compare Tomar with Jerusalem, everything is just on the spot. With the names, the only difference is that the names are Portuguese, but represent the same ideas. Okay. For example, in Jerusalem you have the river Kedron. Here you have the river Nebon that stays to the orient of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Okay, the river is down there. On the other side of the river you have Mount of Olives. Okay, here where also Mount Olives. The Church of Our Lady of Olives. Okay, next to the river in Jerusalem, it was the Gethsemane place. Okay, what means Gethsemane? The windmills. What we have here, the windmills. You see? Just some examples. There are more. You'll find this in my books, even in our first catalog, and in the movie we have in the center about tomorrow. So, this city cannot be understood without the castle, and the castle cannot be understood without the city. Both are a complex, the same complex. Even this, not this door, but the next door, called the Sun door. This is Santiago door. The other one, the Sun door, it's connected with the main axis of the city. Okay? The axis east-west. So, everything is here, but as we don't see the old scene because we are on the ground, if we see a map or with a drone some images of the old scene, we will understand this very quickly because everything is right under our eyes. Okay, so not to bother you because there are a lot of information, and perhaps it's not you are not interested in all the information. But if you need this information is collected and it's published. It's not new things. There are not new things not published yet. And so it's easy to find the books, two books, or where it is. You see, if you look to the walls, you see that the walls are not so high. The lambor is higher than the walls because having a lambor would defend the castle. To have an idea, this castle was under siege for 3 months. Almost 500,000 Muslims surrounded the castle. They could not enter the castle. They destroyed everything around, but the castle was just like before. That means that the castle is very strong. It's a strong way. Yes. Okay. It's a name from Muslim origin. And inside our castle, there's the tower, the main tower, that was also introduced by the Temple, as I told you in Almourol. So, but all the castle is under the Almourol. If you make the round of the castle, you see Almourol. Sagres didn't exist, never. The school of navigation was inside. Okay? And he received here all the big brains of his time because all the brains were with him, except Venetian brains. In Europe, only Venetian brains were not with Henry Navigator because Venetian brains were with the Muslims of Egypt. Oh yeah. Okay? And why this connection between Venetians and Muslims of Egypt? They were interested, both, and Venetians above all, in the trade that came from Orient. And the trade, the big supporters of the trade from Orient were the Muslims from Egypt, as they were the big defenders of Jerusalem. So everyone in the 15th century, the Henry Navigator died in 1460. Okay, till that year, everybody was in Europe except the Venetians were with Henry Navigator, because there was at that time History doesn't speak about this, but there was at that time a new idea for a crusade. Even every navigator in his device, personal device, we are told that he was looking for India. Okay? There's no one single document that says that. This went out from the heads of this.
Uma cesta da lagoa.
And there's a little detour from north, 17 degrees, and 17 is very important because it's the number of Portugal. So, while in Pais, in 12th century, Portugal, almost there, didn't exist yet, but he put there what was important. The mark of the new country. 17 is our number. 17 is under every aspect of Portuguese history is there. It's a kind of cycle, biocycle of our history. Okay, if you do the profound study about this, we'll be amazed. Because everything is on work even today. It didn't stop. Other countries have other cycles with other numbers. Okay? The colonies, the old colonies, receive from the mother countries their own cycles. So, for example, Brazil, the cycle of Brazil is 17, like ours. And the other colonies in Africa and so on, the old colonies, every colony has the same number. Brazil is easier because it's independent for almost 200 years. The others, 40 years. Okay, but the same is exactly the same for the same is we can see the same. For example, for the English colonies. Do you think the 9/11 was for 11 is the number for England, and so United States were a colony. 11. Numbers appear always. Okay, like in Portugal, 17. Where you find 17? For example, in the 20th century. For example, Fatima. The first apparition and the last apparition have some months, from May to October. How many days? 153. The secret number of 17. Okay? We must look for this in different ways. So everything is on place. We are sleeping. We are sleeping. We are very, very, very proud of being aware, but we are not aware. We are sleeping. Because if we were aware, and not only Portuguese, everyone, because everyone has his own history and cycles and eschatological ideas about what they are. Okay? But we are all sleeping. Because our identities are hidden in these kind of things. Our true identities. If you pay attention, we suddenly discover that we are more than we see. Everyone from every country. There's no better or worse. We are all different. And it's difference that makes us better. Okay? We must unite. It's the only way to do this for bettering everything. If you do not do this, evidently, we still remain for many years dreaming and sleeping and dreaming. It's what happens to humanity now.
Not closing.
Cycles within cycles.
Space and
It's not just 17 years.
I can explain that. The castle. This castle has three, as every castle has three, not five as you are told yesterday. Yesterday you were told that this castle had 5 zones. Three. And I can show you. Okay? 1, 2, 3. This wall over there. And each part belonged to the group. Templars were there. This was a public place where Templars met with population. And that population lived down there. 3 walls, 3 spaces. What is called generally the 3 precincts. The 3 precincts. Every sacred space has 3 precincts. 3 recintos. Okay? And we have them here inside this castle. This part is called Passo do Infante. Passo do Infante is the palace of Henry Navigator. It's in ruins. This part where we are, where this was like this. There was a valley here, and a road that connected the door that is there with another door on the north side. That from that door there is no residence, there is no space, but we have the road that links both. Because the Philips of Spain built over North Wall. Okay, so we have North Wall here. We don't see it, and that's it's Charola or Rotunda. Rotunda. That is was in the head of Golden Page was a replica of Al-Aqsa. Okay. At that time, Al-Aqsa, in the 12th century, Al-Aqsa was considered what was left from Solomon Temple. So this is the reason why this happens. And inside, in the paintings, you see more Al-Aqsa. Okay, it's like that. So. That way, but we are going to the primitive entrance because I must show you something. As we'll see, Portuguese national monuments obliged others to have a space, convenient space for entering, with even some kind of facilities for the disabled. You are about to see what the monuments do not apply to themselves. This Charola was the end of the castle, of this side, west side, and everything else was built from 16th century on. From here. 16th century on. For example, you see the bossa. It's wrong, isn't it? Not even this they use. Black would be down and white. Okay, not like that. Remember our bossa in the CITA? And all books displayed in there.
Please explain why black.
Black
When
down,
they turn,
black,
yeah, but
black down.
when they turn,
Yeah, black down and white up. It's the color of matter and spirit. Black and white. Okay. But what I want to show you, you'll see immediately that there are Our Lady, there are Our Lady connected with some saints, fathers of the church, prophets, a Sibyl, that were the female prophets of Antiquity. And you have something I told you about, didn't show you, but I told you about this yesterday about heroes and anteros, eros and anteros. Remember? Because Amovitz was speaking about that idea, and I showed that here we find all those ideas in the 16th century. But what we see here, come, you see, in Militaiire. If you look here, there's a Cupid with an arrow in the hand. Every one of you that come and cross the door, it's hit by Cupid. And of this, you can have two answers. You'll be in love or you'll be in hate. Because Cupid has an arrow, but the arrow is neutral. You are not. We are not neutral. We are gold or lead. And when the arrow hits us, the arrow turns gold or lead. It's inside us the problem, not on the arrow or Cupid. So when we enter the monastery, after entering, if we are aware, we feel if we are in or out, because hate would put us out. Only love, and this love is not sensual love. It's what is called generally platonic love with a major. Okay? See? In the entrance, everybody was completely, if he was attentive, was completely advised about what happened, would happen if they like to enter in this place. Like to enter in an order of chivalry. Everything, when we enter something, we must understand that there are some duties, lots of them, and perhaps some rewards. But the duties are more important than the rewards, because the rewards come to the same extent as we perform our duty. Okay? And so, this is love. If it was hate, so say bye-bye. Your way is not this way. There's another way for you. Okay. So let's enter the place. I must be but what is important in this cloister? It's not perhaps being the cloister of the cemetery. It's what we see in the textiles of the columns. We see lots of vegetables, but majority of the vegetables are just the same. Are these and those, like this and like this. You see? Then are the same. Okay, and they repeat in many of the capitals. Okay, and this is a cabbage. These are the leaves of cabbage, and the cabbage has a name. And the name is Cabbage of Cyprus. And this happens also at Batali Monastery. Because John the First, who made Batali to be built, was educated in here by the friars of Christ. So he knew very well everything that we saw here. Okay? That we learned here. And this afternoon I'll show you that you'll find these in other places, outside from Portugal, in a certain place, specifically in Scotland. In Scotland, okay? So, when I told you that there were convergence of means and interests, these interests are shown, depicted through images that are not translated in ideas immediately. We must know more to understand. In Rossum Chapel, the chief guide, whom I spoke to, during more than an hour, and I asked him, do you know which vegetable is this? No, I know. Nobody could ever discover. And you see, in Rossum Chapel, you have, like in here, several places where this vegetable is depicted. And I told him, have you heard about Cyprus? Cyprus? He was amazed. Cyprus? Yes. You never heard that Cyprus was the last house of the Templars when they lost after they lost Jerusalem. Yeah. But what this means? What is the connection? So they have their signs. They cannot understand them or translate them in other things. That discussion about what is true and not true doesn't enter here, because if we do that division between true and false in that way, we are completely out of the range of this kind of ideas and imaginary and so on. We must understand that sometimes there are not true things that turn true. Okay? In Portuguese we say this, not so. We call this the phrase, not the phrase. O que não é verdade pode ser pode tornar-se verdade. Exatamente. Nós temos muitos exemplos. Mas não podemos discuti-los da mesma maneira. Porquê? Porque são factos de cultura, tornam-se factos de cultura. E ao mesmo que tornam factos de cultura, passam a ser cultura. When something that comes from the imaginary then is an effect of so let's go to see a little inside Chirola, because I'll tell you where Mary Magdalene was there in our exhibition was, because she was there. We discovered that when we are filming here, and the cameraman could not stabilize the bubble, okay, because the image would stay like that, and it was then we discovered that this was not level. And why is not level? The Templars didn't know how to build? No. This is not level because there were a problem, because some research done here in the years 1930 so by a Nazi. This is documented. Okay. Exactly where that side of Chirola, in that chapel where you see the green door, it was a chapel. Now it's a stair, a concrete stair. Why? To fix Chirola, because and outside you saw a concrete house. Now you understand why you see concrete house outside, and there's a stair of concrete inside to fix Chirola, because Chirola was, because they got to the crypt. There's a crypt. We don't know if they took anything or something, but we know that they get into the crypt. I know this from someone who knew it because it was inside all this. And when I lived here for 6 years, this guy once phoned to my school where I was a teacher, and asked me to tell me that he was waiting for me at night in a certain place in Tomar. And I went to meet him. He parked the car in a lonely spot inside town, and we were speaking for 6 hours inside the car. Outside it was raining, cats and dogs. And we were there. When we finished our talk, the rain went away. And he left me in the place where I lived and we went home. This man died some 15 years ago, and he was the Count of Tomar. It was a man, fantastic man. And he knew lots of details about the secret history of Tomar. I must, I'm very grateful to him because he gave me much information and told me lots of things that I wouldn't know if it was not him. But what is very important here is that charola, this is a word that comes from French, it seems, charolais, chanter en rond, singing around, like in a dance. Okay. And this charola was not open. It was open this side only in the 16th century. It was closed. It has 16 sides inside, and the knights who come here would have to get into a stair inside the wall and come down. There was no doors on this level, nor windows at this level. That window was a door, was opened by Henry Navigator. So it is not possible that the horses could enter here, as we are told. Because the stair has 80 centimeters, is 80 centimeters wide. Or the horse or the legs or something would be stuck there. Okay? So, and it was a steep. So this is like that. So the entrance was at the level of the wall of the castle. The entrance to the shore. We must go down exactly as in Our Lady of Oliveira. We must get down or on the level or other. It's the same. From the deep of ourselves we claim to you, Lord. Remember that? Okay. So, there is lots of things that I could tell you about this, but there's no time, and perhaps it's not the right occasion. But I remember now. Blames get rise, get risen or rise. The mountains are destroyed, fall. Choose the valleys, and you'll be a new Olympus. The new Olympus. Okay? So this idea is from the Bible. Plains mean people. Mountains mean priests and religious. Choose the valleys, because you'll be a new Olympus, a mountain. Escolhe os vales, serás outro Olimpo. Okay? These words are very significant, and these words are also present in a text that seems only literature, that brings us information about the secret doctrine of the Templars in the 16th century. Here we have a book for Almourol, Palmeiras, Inglaterra. We have a book for Tomar, Lusitânia transformada. Okay? this is very important, because this idea that if you are in a valley, you can climb the mountain. If you are not, you are blind. The valley is the only place that can help you to climb the mountain. The valley here, as in Masonry, this has nothing to do with Masonry. This is previous to Masonry. Okay? The valley in Masonry is exactly the lodge, the place where the brothers meet. It's a place of study and gathering and sharing. Choose the valleys and you'll be a new Olympus. Olympus, as you know, it's the place where the gods meet. I'm staying exactly where? In a spot that was researched also by the same, trying to find something here and here. It seems they didn't find nothing. It was again filled with earth, and the stones are here, but you see the color. Different. This is important. Why this place? This place is part of the Manueline Church that begins just next to the Charola and goes to this wall here. This space, where is Martin? You spoke about yesterday about 2 squares side by side. Okay, this space exactly 2 squares side by side. You see my book where I published the drawing, and also in the same exactly. It's just the measure. So, but what is the importance of this space? This space was a sacristy, but there was a plan to build the room for the capitals, the gathering of the brothers. The capitals was built, collapsed, and this place was used for that purpose. But what is here very important is this place is the place where the elements gather. And the elements are not 4. The elements are 5. 2 of them are invisible. So there are no windows. Because the other 3 are not. There is fire, here is earth, then water. Lavoisier made the wrong thing. Because he tried to measure air and ether, and he couldn't, so he threw them away, ether away. Okay? Because ether, it's the basis, it's the main element from where the other 4 come. So he gave up the more important. When we speak about elements, we speak about 4, not about 5. And each element was connected originally with a head outside, a human head. That head disappeared. We have this one. We have one that corresponds to that wall, and this one disappeared also. The most important of all is that we see outside. It's next stop, it's outside, to see that head of a man that is supporting himself in roots of a tree. Since 1529 to the 19th century, it was covered by walls, completely different style. A new scene, out of order. Okay? And only a king, a German king, married with a Portuguese queen, Mary II, Ferdinand of Saxe-Coburg, came here one day and saw this and tried to solve the question. He may remove everything that goes. Okay? So it is why we have this in this station. But we'll go outside, you can see more. But before you look there, what you see here. Lots more. Remember this morning? Okay. So when someone shows that at the waist or at the shoulder or with the head, that means that these people are inside West or something or like this. Only in Portugal you find this. In the beginning of the 18th century, you find some paintings from Burgundy or Flanders or Belgium with those black buttons, but they disappeared from the painting. And they only appear after that in the Portuguese painting, sculpture, and esta fachada ocidental da Igreja Manuel de Mar tem dado origem foi correto do Espírita. Tem qualificações mais díspares, que eu já ouvi várias pessoas a contar histórias da carochinha aqui, muitas histórias da carochinha. Tem uma das histórias mais carochescas que eu ouvi foi de um engenheiro aeronáutico russo que dizia que isto eram foguetões. Evidentemente, o século VI está muito à frente. I was telling in Portuguese a story I heard from a Russian aeronautic engineer some 30 years ago. He came here for the first time, he looked to this facade and he told these two rockets. Okay? So, this is the way to explain, this shows the explanation. Visual, this is the visual explanation or a philosophical explanation. Because art follows nature. And so if you decipher nature, you understand art. And here, what you see? You see here what Saint Bernard called the two swords. Saint Bernard used to tell there were two swords. The spiritual one in the right hand, the material one in the left hand. If you try to figure this in the facade, you'll find immediately the same idea. In this object here, you find roots, cut roots. angels flying, and a chain. Okay? This is the sword of the right hand. Because you are here, and if you are telling me, you are wrong because you are on the left side. No, no. An image is always something we see reversed. So our left is the right of the image. Our right is the left of the image. Okay? At the left, what we see? The roots complete. The man on basis and a belt. And now we understand. In God's way, everything is eternal. There's no adaptation. In man's way, we can adapt. Okay? But, so, the left sword, it's a left sword that can be adapted according to the needs. But the right sword is not adapted according to any need, because it's the sword of God. In the middle, you have here this man hanging himself from roots. Do you see generally roots? No, they are invisible because they are underground. But here you see them. So roots mean what in symbolism? Roots mean secrets. So he is hanging from secrets. Whose secrets are these? That's the difficult part. But let me try to explain some things. You see, there's the root and the tree is cut. Okay? If you have seen my medal, you have seen a dry tree, complete dry tree. What you see here, it's an incomplete dry tree because it's cut. It was cut. And it was cut and dried white. Because according to a tradition connected with Preston John, the tree of paradise, the central tree of paradise, dried the day Christ was crucified. But, according to the same tradition, this tree would get green again when Christ was crucified. Okay? So, first moral of this history, the order of Christ, represented by this guy, is keeping the secrets to propitiate the renewal. But meanwhile, life must go on. And so, what they did? I don't know what they did. But they did what we call in Portuguese uma enxertia. That means we put a tree or a flower, and again we make a cut and put another one. And then from a lemon tree we get another fruit. Okay? So it's what they done. See. And meanwhile, we live according to these kind of tricks because we have no way to know. It's our lives. Okay? And everything develops according to those tricks because we don't know the true law. The true law went away. We are in need of a new law, but this new law only appear, only manifest when Christ will come again. And meanwhile, the secrets are included. But the order keeps them. And the secrets can let people, or the order of Christ, very far away from here, even to navigate, because this is a church. But the church is also a ship. The church several times is depicted as a ship that goes around on in that window over there, what you see is a mystery, because you have a sphinx on the basis. Look, attention. We have a sphinx. The round window, and on the basis, sphinx. So, sphinx, it's like the X that matches for. Okay? And so, you have there a window, a round window, that is exactly the same as an instrument of navigation used by Portuguese called Regimento do Norte. So, there's no need to invent things. According to this, even navigations were part of the plan. But they were not the most important. Because the most important of all for the order was the keeping of the secret. Okay? So, I think it's enough. There are lots of other things that we could explore here. But I think it's enough. If you understand this, you understand lots of other things. Try to figure this, beginning by Centro. As I did. The two souls. So, as you see, this is the head that was in front of the fire window, because ether is connected with fire, as air with earth. Okay? See, this head is like a mushroom that gets out from a heart, made from rope. And there are dry tree again here and there. But the most important of all is not this image, because this one more image. The most important image in here is this one. What you see here, you see a knight with his face helmet up. So he shows his true identity, not his fake identity, not his personal identity. What he is showing is his soul identity. The word persona in Latin, that we know what it means, pessoa, person, means mask. So when the mask is lifted, we are not anymore a persona. We are a different thing. What he is showing us is this different thing. And if you look attentively, you see that behind his head there's a sun brightly shining. So light is there, shining on him and illuminating his way, enlightening his way. Okay? We see these several times here at Thomas, at this monastery, several times. Where this exists, the place was very important. This place was very important. This was the main room for not the Grand Master, but for the ruler of the monastery. So he had here something to remember him and others that come to visit him. He lived in it. Okay? He had his scriptorium in here. Okay? So this, he would say, look, your way is there. If you do not turn this, you won't turn nothing. If you do not discover your true self, your true identity, forget it. You are here doing nothing. Because inside this space is a sacred space for sacred life. Okay? So, if you want to look to an old place, the old place where the Templars would live parts of their lives and sleep, this is a cell. This is a big space because there were few Templars, lots of servicemen, but few Templars. Okay, that's why the cells are not too many. And there's something even more interesting because this is the only place where we find this. You see the ceiling? Wooden ceiling? Okay? This is the wooden ceiling. There is another one in rock, from rock. And there's, between both, there's air. Okay? Do you understand what this means? Come to understand. The fire that is here and air passage. So, there will be a great fire inside, with some ways to like pipes, thank you, that would permit or allow the heat and the heated air to come to the ceiling and heat altogether the cells and so on. So it's unique in our monasteries. If this place exists in other monasteries, they disappeared. It's the only place in Portugal where this exists till today. And it is one for this cross. Cross, if you come here, you see the tau, okay, and this it is huge. And remember that yesterday people spoke about tau, and we have to say that philosophers can symbol. You see where here the tau is the symbol also. This space is the tau. There will much to say about that building over there, but there's no time to do that because it is too long. It will be too long. But what I can tell you is that there's there a figure that's very important. You have heard about Aristotle? Okay, Aristotle, a great philosopher of Athens, 500 years before Christ, and he was the master of Alexander the Great. Okay, but Alexander the Great had a girlfriend, and Aristotle didn't like he had a girlfriend. So the girlfriend decided to turn Aristotle, to dominate him. And you see Aristotle with Alexander's girlfriend on his back, on four, and the girl on his back there. So even the greatest men can be dominated sometimes. The idea that it's a woman, okay, but this is also an allegory, okay? A philosopher that can be dominated by sensuality and by such Okay. It's right here, sorry. It's right there. It's right there. That's a cookie also with an arrow. This is too complicated to explain now. But this is a kind of puzzle. We must put everything in the right place to understand the message. It seems a chess board. You see, if you put all the pieces on the right order, you have a story. You can tell a story. It's a difficult exercise. I can tell you because I tried and I figured that I found some clues, but not all. So let's go now to the end of the visit because we must go away to Barquinha again. We are in the refectory. This began and finished in the year 1535. It's written here, Alpha, Omega, 1535, begin and end 1535. So if this was built in 1535, what is under this was built before. Okay? Or in the same year. Before there is a space exactly this wide, it is this space. And that space is entered by a door over there that is marked by a three-headed god. Hermes Trinity. This room was used for initiation. There's even a coffin there made from rock. The lid weighs more than 500 kilos. Who was put there perhaps couldn't think. Is anyone coming back to let me leave this place? Okay? So, but we won't visit that part because it's in bad shape and it's dangerous to get there now. But you'll find photos in my books and in some videos I have in YouTube. But now I'll speak about something I showed yesterday. Remember Eros and Anteros, Eros and Teros. Okay? So you have here Eros. See, he is on a whole head. He has his arrows here, and he is showing a cornucopy of elements. No bow. Okay, no bow. This side you see an angel with a lakdamu in his head, with his feet on human grains. So this is Anteros, this is Eros. Light and darkness. Life and death. Duality is what exists when there's no conformity to the main axis. It's like the tree. There's a tree, and then the only way for common people, to live their lives is to have two ways. Till the time where the tree again reflourishes. So we live according to this. Years and years. Always. The same that way. Because two priests would speak one to the other during meals. Because the idea, according to the rule of Templars, is that brothers, when they eat, they cannot think about eating. They must think about other things. And so the rings had this function to try to get them into other thoughts. And there was another law. Now it's impossible to fulfill it. But in the old days it was possible because there was a bench on the other side or on this side of that table. Why? Because nobody could eat alone. Every brother had to have another one in front of him. If something was lacking to one, the other solve the question. And this is going to be a true companion. Companion, the word companion means sharing the bread. Companos. Sharing the bread. Okay? And this is the way to share the bread. Not only bread, but image. Okay? Sharing the bread. So, this is very important. And when we speak of brotherhood and so on, this idea of being a companion is the first step to brotherhood. Brotherhood is better. Companion is not, perhaps not. It's the first thing to share. Okay? So, yeah.
If you have the breath.
Sorry. Acoustics here are often tested.
Okay.
Because only from
You want me to
here
speak loud?
we have acoustics.
Okay. If you have the light on one side,
Yeah.
then in the other, you have that dualistic order, and in the middle, you have the way. Yeah?
The way is middle one.
Yes.
But in
There, what represents the middle?
the
way.
The middle is the symbol of Portugal, or because the symbol of Portugal, the element of Portugal means five. The five elements we have in the center. You see, it's one in the center and four on the other side. So that's a cross. And inside each cross, there's another cross. And this was given to the first king, or if not the first, the king of Portugal by God himself in origin.
In that way, it's directly connected with the construction of Portugal?
Yeah. Why? Because Portugal was built like Constantine's empire. Constantine had also vision of God himself. He didn't need the Pope like Constantine didn't need the Pope. It's why Portugal, the king of Portugal, was king of Portugal by grace of God, not by grace of the Pope. Okay? This is very important. The Pope, we are endowed with papacy since the 12th century. Imagine what we must pay now because we didn't pay nothing, never. Was rich to get the okay from the Pope, told the Pope that he would pay something each year. He never paid. And the lettering accordingly. Because our logo is this three-headed figure, not round, but cut around to emphasize the three heads. Okay? So, and this is exactly on the same axis of a staircase that goes down. And then when you get down, you have to get even lower using 7 steps as exactly Santa Hierosolimitani. And then you have a corridor marked on the rocks. And you have a constellation of 10 stars. 3 of them are Rosicrucian symbols. The first time, when I remember you that this was built in 1535, and I told you that Venice there was something else built the same year or before. It's to say that Rosicrucian symbols didn't appear first time in Germany, nor in 1690. Okay? Almost 100 years before. here at Tomás. Não, há 2 minteiros que estão a cair e a coisa de segurança não se vai lá abaixo. Mas há fotografias publicadas, há vídeos, portanto vejam os vídeos. Porque os vídeos mostram tudo rigorosamente, eu explico tudo rigorosamente. É uma arquitetura demasiado sofisticada para ser uma adega. A adega foi quando Tomar, no século XIX, comprou esta parte do convento, que fez daquilo uma adega. E então ficou a memória de que foi uma adega. Mas na realidade aquilo é anterior, inclusive ele destruiu uma janela, tinha 3 janelas no fundo e uma janela abriu uma porta. Portanto, as 3 janelas da Trindade novamente deixou de ser Trindade, não é? Passou a ser uma outra coisa. Portanto, é um sítio muito interessante, inclusive porquê? Porque tem 10 feixes da abóbada. Portanto, o ciclo do 10, do número 1 potenciado, e o ciclo do 10 como um ciclo completo, sendo que por cima do poço, on the ceiling, just above the coffin that exists there, there's a sun that blooms from a rose. Rosicrucian, it's not Crucian anymore, it's sunny. Rosy, sunny. And so this means everything. Everything is in the right place. Certainly not for chance, by chance. Okay? But this is another way to show that there were secrets here. There were secret doors. Portugal is the only place in the world where, in Templar context, we can show objects, materials that show that there was a secret God among Templars. It's the only one. At the Almourol, for example, metals, the text of Homem Inglaterra, here, this place, and the other things I showed you already, and so there are lots of signs of this secret. We must open our eyes and look up. Now the kitchen. It's time for lunch, but not here. Está a ser feita é uma visita dinâmica. Vocês percebem, eu estou a parar em certos sítios, se separássemos em todos, a visita o dia inteiro. Que é exatamente a visita como eu costumo fazê-la, que é o dia inteiro aqui dentro. Pronto, mas já dava para ter uma ideia mais detalhada. Essa não tenho nenhuma programada. Já fiz uma há 2 semanas. Mas pronto. Então parámos aqui por aqui. Vejam lá se conseguem descobrir.
Estamos debaixo da...
Já viram? Isto é uma entrada do convento. Esta é uma entrada ou uma saída do convento. Mas é mais entrada do que saída. E portanto quem entrava tinha que ser chamado à pedra, novamente, atenção, que estás a entrar neste... Sorry. Who was entering the monastery had to be called for this idea that he was entering the monastery. So, as entering the monastery, if it's so, he had to do so in a different way, not as a person, but as a searcher for something different from the person. See what we saw there again. It's one more example of the same idea. The person that is lifted to show the real identity. And this is put in certain places, I would say strategically. When we are entering, we are advised. Do not enter this place if you are not a geometry. Okay? It's the same idea. If you are not a mystical researcher, do not enter this place. Because this place is only for mystical research. So, this is Place de Mission, where beggars would come to receive their bread every day. I'll show you the bakery for you to understand the huge size of it. To put and take out the bread from there, it would be necessary a long spoon. Okay, this is a big bakery because there were not many people living inside, but this was also for giving the food to the beggars. And beneath this cloister, there's a place, perhaps most of you already visited. Not in Portugal. You must go to Morocco to visit it. In Morocco, in Mazlagan, Al Jadida now, there's a place built by the same architect that built this one, with the same measures, with the same composition. That one is visited. This is not. We can visit that. This we cannot. It's exactly the same. Okay? It's a place to keep water from rain. Step. And as the same ice, that's some rocks that can put aside to give light. It's what they do in Morocco, to have light inside and to get a phantasmagorical scenario. They do that, okay? We could do that here because they get paid for our visit, okay? And here that we are inside a Portuguese monument. We must, perhaps they could put outside a sign saying, "Please visit Al Jadida cistern." It's very nice. It's very nice. It's just same as this one that you cannot see. Okay.